Imagine walking through the ruins of someone's homes that were just reduced to ashes, and then smiling for a camera. What if I told you that someone did exactly that? Meghan Markle, amidst the devastation of the California wildfires, seemed to find a moment to shine. But was it about helping others, or was it about helping herself? Today, we're diving into one of the most controversial moments of Meghan's career, her involvement in the LA fires and the backlash that followed. Was it charity, or just another way to stay in the spotlight? And where does Netflix fit into all of this? What are they really doing by allowing this to unfold in front of millions? Stay with me, because we're about to break down the shocking truth behind this so-called disaster tourism and why it's shaking the very foundation of Meghan's public image. Grab your seat. This one's going to hit hard. Let's take a moment to think about something that might seem like a simple act of kindness. Imagine a public figure, someone with enormous wealth and influence, showing up at the site of a disaster. They stand amidst the ruins, offering words of encouragement, maybe a hug or two. It sounds noble, right? Now, what if I told you this wasn't just about offering support? It was about staging an appearance. What if they didn't even really help, but instead, they used that moment to turn the disaster into their own personal photo opportunity? You see, this is exactly the scenario that Meghan Markle found herself in when she visited the site of the California wildfires. Her appearance, with a camera crew in tow, was quickly labeled as disaster tourism. What's worse is that she was not even invited into the devastated area. Yet there she was, walking through homes reduced to rubble, capturing the moment for her Netflix series. This wasn't a spontaneous act of charity, it was meticulously staged. Now, let's take a step back and ask ourselves, was this really an act of compassion? Or was it a carefully calculated move to polish her public image and keep herself relevant? It's easy to say, well, at least she's doing something, but when you dig a little deeper, the situation becomes a lot murkier. Meghan's team made the decision to include footage from this event in her series With Love. Meghan, this decision was made after the initial backlash over her disaster tourism label, and many people are asking, why now? Is it because she truly felt compelled to help? Or did the opportunity to showcase herself in front of the cameras simply prove too irresistible? The truth might lie somewhere in between. But one thing is certain, she and her team are attempting to reframe the narrative. They want us to see this as a selfless act. But when you pull back the curtain, you realize the whole thing may have been engineered for personal gain. But what about Netflix? Why would they allow this? Are they complicit in Meghan's plan to use the wildfires as a way to recover the reputation of her show? Some argue that Netflix, having already invested millions into her show, feels obligated to let Meghan do whatever she wants. After all, the series has been panned by critics, and the last thing they want is to pull the plug and face a lawsuit for breaching their contract. But is Netflix really just sitting back and letting her dig her own grave? Knowing the backlash will be harsh. Some say the streaming giant is making a calculated gamble, allowing Meghan to self-destruct so they can wash their hands of the situation once the contract ends. Let's explore the history behind this. Public figures have often used tragedy to cement their image. Celebrities, politicians, and even royals have been accused of exploiting the suffering of others for personal gain. Take a look at the aftermath of Princess Diana's charitable work. Her involvement in causes like AIDS and landmines was genuine, and she received widespread admiration for it. But there were always whispers, weren't there? Whispers about how, in some moments, it seemed like Diana was carefully positioning herself in front of cameras to increase her own popularity. The difference between Diana and Meghan, Diana's work was often unseen, done quietly and behind closed doors. Meghan, on the other hand, parades her charity work in front of us, almost begging for validation. Now, let's talk about Harry. His role in this fiasco is often overlooked. But let's be clear, he is just as involved. At what point does a partner step in and say, "Enough is enough"? Many people are asking whether Harry is truly in control of his decisions anymore. Meghan's influence seems to have grown stronger with every passing year, and Harry has increasingly been sidelined in the process. This isn't just about their marriage. It's about how Harry, once the darling of the British public, has been transformed into a man who's constantly playing second fiddle in his own life. Some argue that Harry isn't just a passive observer, he's an active participant in this mess. After all, he didn't object to Meghan's actions at the LA fire scene. He didn't stop her from using it for content. Could it be that, like his wife, Harry is addicted to the attention? Could it be that the two of them are so entrenched in the Hollywood lifestyle that they genuinely believe the rules that apply to others don't apply to them? This leads us to an important point. Why are they doing this? Is it about money, fame, or power? Meghan has always been very open about her desire to have a voice in the public sphere. But at what cost? If she continues to make these calculated moves, doesn't she risk losing any remaining shred of credibility she has left? She's already lost the trust of many who once supported her. What will happen when the backlash reaches a boiling point? We're also seeing something interesting unfold. Meghan's decisions are impacting Harry's career as well. His book, Spare, has become the talk of the town, and not in a good way. His relationship with his family is strained, and some are even speculating that the book's release may have been the beginning of the end for the couple's connection to the royal family. Was it a strategic move to gain attention, or was it an emotional outpouring of years of pent-up resentment? Regardless of the motive, Spare has caused irreversible damage to Harry's reputation. But let's bring this back to the present moment. What does all of this mean for Netflix? And why would they risk their credibility by continuing to work with Meghan Markle when the public opinion has soured so dramatically? Is it really about money, as many have suggested, or is it about something else? Some insiders are even saying that Netflix might be letting Meghan crash and burn on purpose. They know the show will likely flop, but by letting her continue, they can point to her disastrous decisions and use that as a reason to cancel the series without feeling the heat from the backlash. Here's a scenario. What if Netflix is allowing Meghan to self-destruct? Imagine if they're simply giving her enough rope to hang herself, knowing that the backlash from using footage of the fires will be enough to put an end to her show once and for all. They've already invested millions, and the ratings are abysmal. The public outcry, combined with a potential lawsuit from the victims of the fires, could be the perfect storm that will finally signal the end of their partnership. As much as we might want to point the finger at Meghan for her tone-deaf behavior, it's important to remember that Harry is just as complicit in this. He could have stood up for the victims, for the people whose homes were destroyed. But instead, he stood by and allowed his wife to film herself helping while the world watched. Is he a passive participant, or is he complicit in the same way she is? The reality of this situation is simple. The public is watching, and the more they see of Meghan Markle's so-called charity work, the more they begin to question her true motives. At the same time, the more Harry continues to support her without standing up for what's right, the more he risks becoming just as despised as she is. So, let me ask you, the viewer, what do you think? Are we witnessing the downfall of Meghan Markle's carefully crafted image, or is this just the beginning of her rise to greater power? Will Netflix let her crash and burn, or will they continue to push the narrative? And what about Harry? Will he ever break free from his wife's influence, or is he forever locked in her shadow? One thing is clear, this story isn't over yet. And as we continue to watch Meghan Markle's every move, one thing becomes apparent. In the world of celebrities and public figures, the line between helping others and helping yourself has never been blurrier. And as for Harry, well, His next move could either redeem him or seal his fate alongside Meghan's. So, here we are. What do we make of Meghan Markle's actions in the wake of the California wildfires? Is this truly a selfless act of charity, or is it just another chapter in her ongoing quest for fame and validation? And where does Harry stand in all of this? Is he a passive bystander, or is he complicit in the decisions that continue to damage their public image? We've seen how her behavior, staged appearances, disaster tourism, and turning tragedy into content for a Netflix series has left a bad taste in the mouths of many. But the real question is, how far will this go? Can Meghan and Harry recover from this, or have they crossed a line that can't be undone? And what about Netflix? Are they truly supporting her, or are they simply waiting for the inevitable fallout to give them a reason to walk away? Now, I want to hear from you. Do you think Meghan was out of line, or do you believe her intentions were misunderstood? And where do you think Harry fits into all of this? Has he lost himself, or is he simply playing a part in this complex narrative? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your take. If you're passionate about the royal family and the stories that surround them, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss any of the latest updates and deep dives. Let's keep this conversation going. Like, share, and subscribe to join the discussion. I'll see you in the next video. Stay tuned.